we jina watimi we the African print and a wooden print ene niama ahodo ayen to my papa Swiss fabrics and to my if it's Switzerland no money ade ni nyina no se woba kelele clothing wadaroma ubenye bi ato enwechi no yesan pam ye pam kabani street she pam suit wedding gown no ade to many nyina no ye ton na yesan pam e ma ne ye kama kelele unya ne ba bia North Kaneshi Demond bus stop eho ena ye wo oni pemfo twetwen komo e 0541 849 257 0268 866 697 and Kalele clothing and the encouragement queen so yasene epia yen apa for no me ejamintamene
nana aba echiba afika ya ho ene yenhye ensem no ase
Mothers FM yes some pa
ma yenhye ensem na se emfree Excellency John Dramani Mama ento abode ko piemu ewo from mantem no akache na woko no na soafo a ohwe yakwan ni akwantimpon sem so edinachi honorable Kwame Govins Agboja ento abo no ede yewura ekokopie mu ewo from mantem kwan ya omoye ede free atimpoku a ninemu a fiadan gba ekokopie mu ewo aflawo kwantimpon no omokohwe senia ni progress ni sifa eko na eho na honorable Kwame Agboja soafo ohwe yakwan wonsem so ede etu Excellency edim se ohwe senia kwan no contractor no egusu bu adwuma biti na ewo mu se ye hwe ne mo kwan safo be ko na wie na sa kwan no mo wie na nso bia na afu we mpo anko awie ye na contractor no we wie.
Your Excellency, this is the last section of your Big Push project. Your vision at the time of campaigning was to say that you deliver this project from Atimpoku all the way to Aflao, and people doubted you. You are going to do this even way ahead of schedule. Somebody has achieved over 75%, and every contractor except Greenhouse. But even Greenhouse, we are going to help him to catch up. That is the Harvard to Hopeway section. We are building the highest quality of road. We can guarantee you 20 years plus on many of these roads that we are building, which is not something we've seen in the past. All the contractors are very hard working. I must commend the regional minister. Every region we went, the speed of the work of the contractors depends on the nature of minister and stakeholders they have. The ministers and stakeholders that are always on the back of the contractors, you see that those regions, the works are progressing. So whenever we say that a region, the work is not progressing, I can guarantee you it reflects on the stakeholders in that region. But our minister is always here with them, working with the contractors, and the contractors, especially timelines and canoes, other groups, are working very hard. And we think that we are delivering on your mandate, and everything will be all right. By next year, by this time, almost all these projects should be completed in the Volta region.
Honorable Govins Kwame Agboja na yetene kan enwechi Excellency John Dramani Mama so echere nani so na oboso afo na baso e wedwumesu na wodi eye monitoring senia ya kwan ye de ahye ne sase won hwe nye no bibia be wie mu die.
Thank you very much. Good work as usual, and just keep it up. I notice it looks like this timeline stretch again.
Yes.
And we are doing a good job.
Mothers FM yes some pa
His Excellency John Dramani Mahama na yetene nken
ya moremu awa mashe bedefie na ye boremu hodia empremprendie na chese nya ekoso ni na eya bra eya Ghana photo sanfo wo mebusu minim no boremu mashe bedefie ni nara fa no Public Financial Management Act 2016 no Act 921 na say ya amend ya tena se adwendwe ho EIB afim bi akeka ho ntia say section 72 no na was say wode 2025 no annual report no eba na wode ba ne de speaker otina assess abre no say informal committee no na committee ne call ye no de wa makotena se adwendwe ho esusu ho ebobo ho na committee chairman Enmunam for Eric Afo ene de wo ba machibidafo efie no na wode final report no motikotina se dwendwen bibibia ho no or the final report na aba ekire se emprempren de bibibia akoyi omu nse 2025 na de enyoma akoyi esipi esita ama Ghana for dodo na eni agye ho na no Enmunam for kojo upon Nkrumah so region and answer dear was one of the emotion that ever told the dear was supported with actually. Aha, who is a name in the aircon, who say, debt management report, no, the titri panel, age nab, Adebaku peso, and no GDP ratio in the pep, and I just say one more day air to home. Now, so, what I say, Adebaqua, Ecofas and seminar by air the pa, I say, Sidi no, and then Emma, whom the sea papa, Ewa Fimpino, any Adrian Enum, and in Sinina can be, and a boy in Pennyfabas, Nemono, one more air can be beer, one more cow, which is say, a yes, a pa. Enya memopa a enka ne mampani na ekufado etwa to ho eno na mpanimfoi aba befa so ediedu sa empempensui.
I have 4 quick comments from this side as I second this motion. First is the fact that this debt management report we are looking at focuses primarily on debt to GDP ratio as a basis for analyzing our debt. Mr. Speaker, in the report, it suggests that debt to GDP ratio is reduced from about 61% to about 44%, which is a good thing. And it states that the reason primarily is the appreciation of the cedi in the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, it does not account for the fact that the MPP government negotiated about $5 billion of debt cancellation and another about $4 billion savings in cash flows on our debt stock. This is a very major reason for which we are seeing these good numbers dropping from 61 to 44. And I think it's important that credit is given where credit is due. That was about 98% of the debt restructuring program. And Mr. Speaker, the second argument I want to make is that the debt sustainability analysis approach that is adopted in Ghana's debt management report, and it's not about the NDC, the approach that is used is a bit inadequate because it focuses primarily, as I mentioned, on the debt to GDP ratio. But nobody pays their debt to their GDP. Mr. Speaker, we should rather be spending some more time analyzing our revenue to debt servicing ratio because you really pay your debt with your revenue.
Well, my now for Kojo upon Kuman and Ekoti and Wachi and a vice chairman, I also a economy and development committee. So, was answering my Shebeni, and my mouth for a more evaluate a Jomrodra and no illumination for no koi. Kofi Akon one also at the NSM to Jawa say oh committee ni ba no mamu areshemu and abotoyem pass a report on mode ba no de say e refreshing papa e abudwunsuo a o mode ba gu Ghana fo akoma so esan say 2024 e kan na ja honom no e 726.8 billion Ghana cedis na so mpempre no won watoto nyama masu ehwan aba be 641.1 billion Ghana cedis a mpempre ama ejama so kra no no fintech for nyaso so e won say your ratings no e kosoro ama bibia ekoyie edema Ghana for.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I believe the report on the public debt report for the year 2025, right, Speaker, is a refreshing one. And as has been announced, when we met, we had some refreshing news, right, Honorable Speaker, to understand that the country's public debt, right, Honorable Speaker, reduced from 726.8 billion in 2024 to 641.1 billion, indicates that yes, the prudent measures being implemented by the finance minister and this government is indeed yielding dividends. Because, right, Honorable Speaker, we know from the history of this country what the discussions had been initially on the rising nature of the debt of this country. And so therefore, the indication that there has been a reduction is very much refreshing because it increases the confidence that the international body has in the economy of Ghana. On page 7, with regards to the credit ratings, right, Honorable Speaker, it is clear and worth celebrating that international rating organizations such as Fitch has upgraded Ghana's rating from a restricted D, which is RD, a restricted default of RD to B-.
Masha beje mama for one more evaluate adwomrodra nene ene kokotie ene wachi ena afia masha beje ni Onimanya for Isaac Boama one so at the ensem to dwa na wɔkyerɛ sɛ wohwɛ mu pa na ɛyɛ ente so yɛ mpanyimfo ɛka sɛ yate so no ɛba ba begina hɔ ɛbɛyɛ ade bi ɛbɛkɔ yie anase yɛ de ntotoyɛ foforo kra ɛna ɛba ba bɛto hom ama bibibia kɔnkan ɛde ama Iganafo yɛnhwɛ ni yendi ɛho ɛnkɔmɔ ni yie sɛnye bɛyɛ nyoma ɛnkɔ basa ɛmfa ɛmayɛ.
Our public debt report for 2025 financial year. Mr. Speaker, it is right that when it comes to public debt position, it is very critical for our national economic stability. Mr. Speaker, Section 72 of the PFMA Act is what mandates your committee or the Ministry of Finance to present this public debt position for our consideration. In the year 2025, Mr. Speaker, the report is indicating varied reasons upon which our debt stock has reduced. But importantly, the reduction in the debt stock, the conversation is whether it is sustainable or there are other measures that we need to put in place to ensure that it doesn't become a 9-day wonder. Mr. Speaker, let me refer you to paragraph 5.2, speaking to the implementation of the debt restructuring program that laid the foundation for us to be where we are today in terms of the debt stock. The committee reports that the committee noted the significant progress that was chalked as a result of the implementation of the debt restructuring program, which was launched in December 2022. Mr. Speaker, many a times in this house, we talk about economic stability, we talk about our debt stock going down, but we fail to acknowledge the foundation upon which the achievements have been built upon.
Onimanya for Isaac Boama no si ya penso na nhia so mra hyebedwani onimanya for Steven Amoa one so sorry jane na so de wa kire mu se wo se eba no eye ekai hu nsensem na wo mutumi edi ehon komo ekọ ekire senye be ya ye benya ne pumasi bre kra na obia ehon ato no.
Mr. Speaker, in any serious economic jurisdiction, what we are discussing, what we are commenting this morning is extremely important. And for that matter, it has to be given the needed attention by all relevant stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, we always seem to demonstrate just a cliche, depending on where one is, whether in opposition or in government. I think for once, we need to take this debt to our GDP management very serious and do proper discussions in a context that we can find a long-lasting solution to its problems. Mr. Speaker, it is true that our debt to GDP has been drastically reduced. But then, one cannot talk about it without considering the background and what we have to do as a country. Whether we accept it or not, it is true and it is a fact that a few years back, the whole world was hit with economic crisis. And that plunged the globe and Ghana into a situation where productivity and market activities were impaired. That for the first time in the history of this country, civil servants and public servants were asked to stay home, but they were paid. Private sector had to sack over 40,000 workers. Payee corporate taxes were highly reduced to the extent that we had revenue shortfall of about 12 billion.
Yes, I'm Mothers FM.
And share so much shebedwani onimanya for Steven Amoa nene kokoti.
Yanto asem no so ne mpie mu ewo yewumehia enwunsem mu so afo hwe yewumehia ensem so ye Honorable Haruna Idrisu ode atudwa echemu se aban no ede hyehye bi eba watu ne din se people tracking system ene se emofra na free chocho edbesi class 2 no eho ena ombetro nsohwe senia oma aye no national standardized test into bachelor class 2, bachelor class 4, no bachelor class 6, and send away rem ewo JHS. Now, social number for the so bachelor sa keke. Abai ebeti committee on bem monitoring am ofrana this year, ene omumpuntu sifa airco. Na no be boa bana ma bani so wunhihye ya. Ewo so ye edeboa adisua for no. Into nemu sa one free class 6 endu JHS ne dia akwana no be bia no abin. Enye yinso a wo a ubehu. Ti BC no ntro wie no. Now to Miss Akola Nitrimu Abobio.
Notice begin with learners in primary 2, and rather than testing different groups of people of each assessment circle, the same cohort of learners will be followed through. So from 2 to 4 to 6, so that we can measure the progress of that cohort over the years before they get to write BECE. We, as I announced earlier sometime last year, we're planning to escalate and upscale the national standardized tests across the country, because we want valuable evidence to test foundational learning.
So afọ hwe omesua wonsem so honorable Harry na Idrisu na yete ne kan na enu echi no ena okasa emofra ne de ehia mo pa akenkan ena afen so no atwerew ohun se ne yetwerew ohun se de yekenkan a na yede abakwasem nso epii ne so mofra bebre ho bisa ne se hwan ne ye first president obetimi aka se Dr. Nkrumah brebe ne nya efa ahudi a na ototo paapa so nti ose sa afan ewose ye ma yeni ekoho.
You all saw the answers to the basic question, history class. Who was Ghana's first president or Ghana's first president of the First Republic? They all got it right with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. But when it came to when Ghana gained her independence, maybe because of the tension of a minister present and the tension of all of you around, they struggled. So it means that we have to improve the teaching of history, basic. That's my takeaway from today. Ghana needs to realign and reinvest in basic foundational learning. When the child gets literacy right, it measures the success of that child throughout the education ladder.
102.7.
Honorable Harry na Idrisu na yete ne ken.
Yes, momu ewo mashabeje fi honomara dia na chese enche ye biara na Global Info Analytics for one mo survey bi ebeto emontene so na ni na kokowie mu se wohwemu ewo mainsini na mu ne the constituencies no omo yi mu ekoye mu hwehwemu na mashabeje for no wodwuma pa omo ebo no kosen ewo honom na constituencies no edowatwe miensa 83 na omo kutumi koye mu enhwehwemu hwe se impanyufo aso impanyufo ye de tututu se wo mu nimbe etimamfo ani no kosen de ema wo mo na ebe awie na de natural se mu nyafo Frank ano dompre mashebeje nyima manfo wo mo ewo ense wo m adoajiwi wo mo kire se won de wa pass you excellent esan se ha mo chichemu eduokron enwotwe 98% na abra mo kwa abontin so no wo mo kire se o papa wo badwuma emu mienu pe na mo kata papa na adwuma no ewo fem na 2% pe na kire se ewo fem kwantia wo na we pri edi nkan eno achi nda wo bowremu ewo ase honom so dia ene wo mo dase ono so wo mo edosu ye papa ebi nnenam 9% ewo honom na wo bowremu ewo asinema so across so ene takrade importem honom der machine for mo honom no ebi nyenya 13% bosom twese wonya 15% na afin so achia sen so wonya 16% ewo honom bolebam boy Ghana man pani in krom mashe de wo na chese wo mo adwuma kora de 21% na wonya ye ewo honom na enhia so mashe bedwene menya for Steven sticker ai amo won so enya 23% na chese ni na no nsem a wo mo komonten so ekodididi emu enkomo na wo san so chemu mpose ubowemu ewo na Vrongo Central dia mashe bedwene wo honom so enya eduokron miensa 93% ani na kire se ekboye sanso so no offense not so mashabedunya wo ho abasobo omo de command papa ye enya mu eduokron ba kwa na kire se safo nna no wo mu ebo adwuma na so mi wo so still na no adwuma no ewo fem kakra ewo se wo so etime keka wo mo ho ebo adwuma se ne se ne fata wagire ede ema wo mo manfo na wo meni so se mpanyufo ye to aba ede mo no wo mu enni ye hwamo enni ye abro na abusia sa ensemia info analytics for the better mountain so na eno na some din kan bo so enhia so mashebedwani o man edunu enwotwe 23% na baba mountain so na watch say hey ehen ha where is here 23% say enya de betumi atia say me Me 23%. Mo mama 23%. Obi a mitumi eyi me akasa bi bottom sika. Be 100,000. Na me de major di for say oh monje me fa mbosia. Na mo fa eyi nsi hu bia anto ho. Mo de mo betua na mo betua baka. Mo fa size sika na me de ma mo na emfa mbra. Wo kire say o mo dis kan po ba ya nimpo. Emu ha mo chiche mu aduana mpe na be betua nsika ma no. Enso ni nya no wanka hwe. Yesan so ni say ne manfo no. Ne manfo de onye o mo te say ba fa ne fam. O mu di agro esrese ba nimpo ntwuma so na wo ye bi edema omo ba ne say omo eye akronfo etata omo so won nankasa de sika ebo ban edema omo nti ba ne sen na infofo mo ba ka cha say 23% amode man won so ansemi won nye ntumesi na kopon kwa wo soro kra enim say wo bo adwuma enyi wo mo nsem de omo nko ensan so mrebiem emeka foforo.
Wonder what Musa Dankwa, my own brother, is depending on. This is very, very demotivating. This is very dangerous because I believe in myself that with my performance within 6 years and with the opportunity I had, what I've done, I don't think you can get more than 10 MPs to do what I've done. And I'm not comparing myself to my MPs, but I'm talking about top performance. So Mr. Dankwa should come again because I find it very strange. You go to Santasi Market, I gave them about 100,000 to do businesses, share and pay back without interest. Just about 40% paid. And I left the rest. You go to Atasimaso Market, armed robbers were worrying them. I used my own money to provide security gates and other things. I am cool with the constituents. I am fine with them. Through me, some of the youth got GRA, Cocoa Board, Ghana Gas, banks. Some of them are in UK. In fact, one of them is one of the top army officers in UK today. Some of them, the parents call me and they are crying. I just went to UK. This thing was bought by a constituent who, because of me in UK now, he's having a good job. He talked to me and he was crying. How happy he is now. So please, I got this, you can check. In 3 years of my tenure, I can't believe it what is happening. And I'm not doing this because of my reputation. Only God knows what I've done. I'm doing this for us to be careful that the people who are doing rather good things in Ghana are not seen or praised.
Yes, I'm Mothers FM.
Nti awusawa o hwe TV wo Facebook no so wutumi say owura nenya bre pa nenya bre se krodom utumi 23% say owura Musa Dankwa we de wa anya ade kwa utumi ni sika ni bottom sika 100,000 ya made for na omu fan say wa anya ade kra eja
unse sometimes politicians omo yam from so the 100,000 so the ama inhia so edwedifo a ye ken akoye MP or NPP MP. On the party line. Into both NPP, a former man no mudisi can be mom. Wa won't count, unye be.
Na sending them when you say was anka, Nina bet me dear, but Tahuaka say,
unfortunately, Sir Kobase. Ye bisa questions na imputi anye ye na ne omo che ya o ma
na nkodwa so a
and I said omo che ya o ma ma ni baby kro NPP ni but ye che kra ya ama no ono ne yakọ bisa the question say we MP hu ne sen ya no beka
wonya pe
wabon onye hu sika kro de ba ye kra ma enye bi so nti omo so mba record omo de na questions no mu bisa okọ baby ti sense won adu agiria to be honest okwedo de otana no we ni America papa no bo adwuma tama no mwa be mu no mebu no ode omudura security service ni mu
edoso
enya asem ketwa so wahu nti obi say no
omeka mfuno nti na ese ni de ne kwanso ano
honorable sticker and all they say
I know
nya bo trela se na ni abre toto ne say on mic echi adai
she ento wada
ona yo sakite do
ento wada
but man who you wom kaswa which is east
83 constituencies
west ni wom Gizela ho no wom obomodo nya 77%
ye nu baabia fe na edu 83 constituencies
but na otra kaswa ko kaswa echi
se baabia obi ofa firi baaye no ebia na ofa ni se ofanza wom se kosi kuma se ana fa mu obo ase abesi asene honom abesi honom ntina
okay
nti enhwe bia obeto aso aba eja bankran
ni English amount from na dinina
na ehu baabia won so
omomba
ye jom ba akoto
na ama sama nsu nya 70%.
Omo yade.
Omo se ono so ye bibi but ama sama ye kwa nye.
Na Gizela mo se Gizela nya say 70%. Ekwan no nyina ka ho bi. Na say asetena na Musa.
Depending on questions na ombe bisa no.
Na onyumnya for pay to no ka ho bi ana.
Ono no
Gomwa East.
Gomwa East man who Gomwa East.
Ene Edrisa abre ne de me pesa nka me wo ho no nka me bisa me bi.
Yeah. When say amasa man dia making then times ana honorable ya Kasim ata the machines not the fact
no just no bibi akoka my face kwan na da so smooth.
But honorable MP ba ye na nke ye hwe se
ono so beto aso sa
but ye hu no se ne ye say quality honorable MP for amasa ma wadaro ma wo ye bidie but keka ho
DM said them
honorable said because on the abo bi abegugu kwan no so ne ade o mo feel
abo na ya abo pa na ye clear de ni bi
abo etimi nom
issue because ye den ye kwan de clear de ni bi nti eno twa de ye mfa nya hwe
konkra bet no sino fatena nyinem ye nto ansem ne so na yenkwa pie mu ewa National Identification Authority NIA for akache Oma friends emtrofo nhie mu kyerɛkyerɛ emra ahodo a seesie no aba Ghana card no ɛho na LI2111 ena yedi dwuma Oma sakyerɛ mu ama seesie abenya LI2523 aye no kyerɛ sɛ woyɛ bank ana woyɛ dwuma kuo bi na obi ba ho so no ba be ye dwuma oje ne Ghana card ena ye dwuma no efri sabre ko wuni ho kwan sɛ Ghana card no wo be print wo be photocopy ana sɛ wo be hwɛ Ghana card ni so din no ahwɛ nipa nanim ahwɛ sɛ yo no ana da bi yesi kopɛ biometric verification machine into oje Ghana card na de ahyem twe now ne sa to so na a verify no tititia ne sa yo no eno so ebetimi aboa ma ye banbo ho nsem ene se ne ebetimi aboa ye ankase ye ho ban na obi mfo obi card enkodi bone no eno so wie mu die soafo a ono no hwe ye efisem ho nsem so Honorable Muntaka Mubarak Muhammad nsem trofo nhie mu na se dio chirechire mu ni
I signed the National Identity Register Amendment Regulation 2026, that is LI 2523. It was gazetted on the 27th of March 2026 and finally entered into force after going through parliamentary procedures on the 9th of June 2026. The LI 2523 amends the National Identity Register Regulation 2012, and that's LI 2111. And it does one central thing. It makes biometric verification of the Ghana card the mandatory standard for confirming a person's identity, and it retires the old practice of simply looking at a Ghana card, photocopying, or scanning it as an acceptable method of verification. For too long, identity checks in this country have relied on officer glancing at the card or a business photocopying and filing it away. That practice has real consequences. A photocopy can be altered. A scanned image can be misused or reused without the owner's knowledge or consent. A Ghana card can be presented by someone who is not the rightful owner, and it's a visual check alone, cannot catch that. Ladies and gentlemen, biometric verification closes that gap.
Honorable Muntaka Mubarak ena yetene nkan soafo hwe yefisem ehonsem so enu achi ena o ka kire timemufo se samre ya be ya ahyase edi dwuman we be bosom miense achi no ewo se institutions a omodi Ghana card edwuma nyina obi anya sa machine bi na koba se odo Ghana card akwa bi a odi akwa bank na o ma jom kwa photocopy mempene omogina omuni verification machine bi omodi be ya empene da because omo print sa yes ana obi ho na da baby no obi afa oda ko register sim o chana ko da kudi bone unua una ho a kire no.
If any organization asks to copy your Ghana card instead of verifying it biometrically, you are entitled to decline. This law exists to protect you, not to burden you. LI 2523 is a deliberate measured step to strengthen the integrity of our national identification system and to safeguard the personal data of every citizen and resident. We will implement it firmly but fairly, and we will work with all stakeholders to get it right. May God continue to bless our country and make it strong and great. Thank you so much.
Honorable Muntaka Mubarak na yetene kana ne krakra mu no eno se san hye ya abei eno so ebeboa ama SIM card re-registration na communications minister ede eba no ebe hyemu kina ye pa nti bedroom pempen so bi wi anu ho kode fa Ghana card so ko register SIM a ubenya notification wo phone ne so because ya connect wo number na mo hu se obi do card ne ko register SIM na so de kodi boni bi ama ne so etimi aboa.
At the beginning of last year, I kept putting a lot of pressure on the government, the Minister for Communication, to do the registration. Because what we currently have, the system that we have, doesn't speak to our identity registry. So what it does is that all the one that they did in the previous time is not linked to our biometric. We want it to be linked to our biometric, so that even if you decide to steal my identity to register a number, I will receive because my number that I registered is in the system. It will come to me to confirm. Then I'll get to know that who is trying to use my identity to get a SIM, and I will decline. So that is what we are doing with the Minister of Communication, because that doesn't rest, fully with us. We are more focused about the security, but when it comes to the making sure that the SIMs are the right ones, that falls on the Minister of Communication. And I know he has even announced a timetable, and very soon we'll have to do that. I know one of our biggest concerns, even in cabinet, was that how can we do it without the inconvenience of the citizens, and that has been factored in heavily. And I can assure you that the method that Honorable Minister, Honorable Sam George is putting to make sure that this is done seamlessly is going to be very, very less stressful, and it's going to not inconvenience too many people. We are hoping that he succeed in the plan that he showed to cabinet that was approved, so that it will not inconvenience. So I believe we can protect ourselves. It's very, very easy for people to steal other people's identity.
Radio Money now Baatan Mothers 102.7 FM.
Honorable Muntaka Mubarak ena yetene king. Yenyina we so na yehume kase bo no so tew. Ye ba ye beto aso.
Adishmaima KASE3 Ghana Limited. Ye Jumakubia. Ye si dine ton dine. Eton sase krujia. Mansubia ni hu. Wuto yen sasibia. Ebaya wudia forever and ever. Wabusian da chinti. Enunti. KASE3 say. Tia 10% pay. Na fe shasye. Usi dino. Na uchane kakra. KASE3 in kwane won sasi wa the whole Ghana. Ye won sasi bi wa Greater Accra. Baby to say. Atoman. Kofi Donko. Imam Pehia. Danjra. Kaswa Obom. Dodowa. Kofi Kwe. Ayete Kote. Weja. Broadcasted. Ani Bebre. Sayakwa Central Region in Sua. Cape Coast. Ayensudo. J. Krodia. Portain. Gomwa Kwe Krum. Yankwa Eastern Region. Ensawam. Kwasinyako. Afram Krum. Afayentufa. Na Yankwa Northern Region. Yobi Watamale. Nyampala. Ensasuno Bay. UDS Campus. Watamale Kumase Kwanso. Yesansu wa Executive Wanzo. Diada Kromu Pe. Na wusansu pe. Asasi yantam. Edi aye kriya anefua. Ye will be with the whole Ghana. And on tishu ye chirakwan. With the main office. Accra. Tesano. Yeni Ghana Telecom University. And our police training school. And a division. Waka aswa malam kwantim ponoso. Amam from. Yeni resurrection asori ne division. Na yakwa amasama inswa. Opposite the Central Marks. Wo amasama ihwa. Oba krowa office no. Ewa site hope. Afei Ashaiman. Yeni lorry station no. And a division. Freye 0302-963740. Ebiem 0302-963740. KASE3 Ghana Limited.
Aha, Kelele Clothing. Me mama kwaba. Yeni etimima wa ho fedanso. Ewa wontade shemu. Esan say, yewa fabrics aso to nyine bi wa ha. African print. Kelele Clothing die. Yesan so pam the show. Come on. Ye pam emane mema kaftan, corset, agbada, emane mema die nyina. Embroidery, bubu, silk kaftan, political suit nina. Ye pem biwa ha. Ye tira kwan ewo North Kaneshi Demold bus stop. Ana wo dear friend. Ewo 0541-849-257. Ana 0268-866-697. Aha! Kelele Clothing. Me mama kwaba. Yeni etimima wa ho fedanso. Ewa wontade shemu. Esan say, yewa fabrics aso to nyine bi wa ha. African print, kelele clothing dear. Yes, so pam the show, come on. Ye pam a man mema kaftan, corset, agbada, a man mema dienina, embroidery, bubu, silk kaftan, political suits nina, ye pem biwaha, ye chirquine ewa North Kaneshi Demold bus stop, and now dear friend, ewa 0541 849 257 and now 0268 866 697. Aha, eye kelele clothing. Me mamwa kwaba. Yeni etimi ma wa ho fedanso. Ewa wontade shemu. Esan say, yewa fabrics are so to nyine bi wa ha. African print. Kelele clothing die. Yesan so pam the show. Come on. Ye pam e mane mema kaftan. Corset, agbada, e mane mema die nyina. Embroidery, bubu, silk kaftan, political suits nina. Ye pem biwaha. Ye chirquine ewa North Kaneshi Demold bus stop. And now dear friend, ewa 0541 849 257 and now 0268 866 697. Aha, eye kelele clothing.
So dia na so afọ won na hwe ewiem nsachire ne bobre ho ewo oman yi emu Alhaji Baba Saidi Isifu word sembia to dwa abra mkopie mu ewo Upper West Regional Coordinating Council no ase na no na wo twemu semprempren no ewiem nsachire ade ha adwene ye papa ewia tumi bwa wa afibi ma chese Ghana for ye ho hyehye edube wi san so tumi twa ni na se ewiem nsachire no asesan ye papa na esan se yen hyeda eni wo atena ye dodo na ewo man yi mu ni ntino eya na ha adwene ewo eho entotoye eni timprempren die aban na adwen se mensi ni na mu ewo mantem dunsi nnamu no wo ba bebie atena ye ede ama wo sene be ya wo matumi akakotena se aye adwuma atoto nyema na nyema na etumi akonkan wo san so kire mu mpo se sa adwuma die wo mo ye na mo ye ni yi a ebetwe aboafo awo mafi amanane ediska aba behyem ama prempren Ghana so bibibia akonkan ede ama ye ewo ewie mu nsachare
we should make this effort to have this engagement where we share capacity, we share our understanding of the effects of climate change, and also for us to put them in readiness for the creation of the climate and sustainability units in other assemblies. We're looking at how to do that for all the assemblies in Ghana, so that reporting on climate-related activities will be up there. In fact, beyond this point, we are also thinking that we should even have a climate and sustainability hub in Accra, which would then tend to build capacity of these assemblies. That anytime we have these shocks, livelihood is affected, homes are displaced, education is affected, the whole value chain of our livelihood is affected. Now, most of the times we find some of our women and children migrating from one place to another because of the hazards of climate change.
Nekrakra and Chief Director Edma Upper West Regional Coordinating Council no rapor na fati Isaka Kure wana so ensem to dwa na se wakasa wo tifi mantem atoye so afo no anemu na kire se wo se abanye hyehye mo de ba no wo mekoso agye atum kama na afi so wo mabo ewemu atrechire mu sine bebe kwase no bibie atumi ate ase na watumi agye atum na ewemu sakire no wo mo ni EPM panifo so akaba kire mu di dwuma nsa ne se ne fata na obibia ho atono.
Also think of what to do to help in absorbing the shocks, because most of the issues like felling of trees for charcoal and whatnot is the women who suffer, because that's the source of livelihood for them. One, there's no alternative for them. I don't know what we expect them to do. So as we do that, we should be thinking of other alternatives that we can get for the women to engage in.
Mothers FM, yes, some pa.
Chief Director Edema Upper West Regional Coordinating Council Ayapon Nafati Isaka Kure Nene Enikokoti.
Yanto ansem ne so na yembo enremu ewo police for ensensem emu. CID Criminal Investigation Department no akaka won ho kakra ama say ye kase no omakwakire emrantie be se du ewo matayeku ene afienya entem ho ni nyina ne say ye ka cyber fraud abefo kwa fa so bokro no internet so dwirimu dia omudemu tintimba ye pa enti ene chino ena yakwakommoa wo mo Director General Emma CID COP Lydia Yakon Donko esisudua Emma yensi.
In connection with internet-related fraudulent activities at Mataheko Afienya Tema, following an intelligence-led operation conducted on 3rd July 2026. The suspects are Collins Francis Olayi Ojo, Matthew Balogun, Jahid Bello, Abdul Rahman Nufizi, Talent Sinivi, Pray Morrison, Lawal Abdul Aziz, David Ogogona, Gifts Prince, and Kingsley Honest. They were arrested at an apartment suspected to be used as an operational base for the activities.
COP Lydia Yakodon Kona Yatenin kan Enwechi ena o si 15th July ne so no moboremo ewo Asante Mantemu Abra anti-armed robbery unit no enso ekeka wo ho kakra ekwakire nipa mienu ana woton etuo ene eho akode a etia oman Ghana yemra eye Criminal Offences Act 1960 at 29 eno so etia so ntimi ntonton saa etuo ne eho akode ne saa ore bi onyan frisia no ediosia miensa Christopher Kupeni owo ebuakwa na naketwa ewo Asante Mantemu ene wae kokoti di akwani abahye no mu ne ade saa etuo ene eho niama ena oton sabre papa no ya kire no.
Service has arrested 2 suspects in connection with the illegal trading of arms and ammunition in the Ashanti region, contrary to Section 192A of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 at 29. In the early part of January 2026, the anti-armed robbery units of the CID headquarters gathered intelligence that individuals were illegally trading in arms and ammunition in the Ashanti region, supplying different types of weapons to various buyers, including criminal elements. Following a sustained period of surveillance, the team arrested the first suspects, Christopher Kupini, age 63, a businessman and resident of Ibuakwa Nanaketwa in the Ashanti region, on 15 July 2026. During interrogation, he admitted the offense and named Bank Kwabna Tebia as his main supplier of the firearms.
Yes, Ambo! Mothers FM!
COP Lydia Yako Donko CID boss na Yetinin King.
Yet once I'm no suma odia enye enano drada ayumo busumi no neda etos edwenu enkron kwaye arahosemi ye papa ewo manga ni masei esanse insubrania etoye ediewu na ensamafo dodo na enomufie insu yiri fa womo tetetetetetetete ye hu ba bi kura ebi nso so ehwere womo enkwa ejapade ahodo nso de ehwere dodo na ewo oman emunya na nam so Adventist Development and Relief Agency empempre makeka womo ensase enye kabotne no de kobo ni sikemu ne dollar na dia na chese $20,000 and now the bagana sikemu so de 224,000 Ghana cedis and no market come on sasenya de dja toto student mattress ahodo detergent ahodo seminar ahodo ni afin so nyama be buofie de akakoma nadbom penifo se wo monje ba na atorenche mu dia wo ene aboafo wo so Ghana fo asne nti wo monje sa nyeme entumi emfa emmoa manyame na enkonkan emfa Ghana for titiriw awo mo ho aka adwamu ewosa insuyiri emu na empanimfo mu di enim doctor kankambo adum na wo kyese ma aban ni enyi wo mu ani emfa masafo isanse wokobo mo kra na kosoma woni eni omechisi na be ya o masetim ebetumi asanko mo tibia dademu amobia ho atono.
That occurred on the 28th and 29th June. Many households were affected. In fact, data from NADMO indicates that over close to 90,000 households were affected. Now, as a relief agency, we cannot sit unconcerned. Our mandate actually calls us to action. And that is why we have mobilized resources from our international office and our regional office, as well as within the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Ghana, worth about $20,000 to come and present various relief items to the victims of the flood. We will be engaging with our donor partners. And once NADMO has identified the victims, we will collaboratively work with them so that the affected victims can be trained in some skills which they can engage in livelihood activities, and by so doing, they will be able to generate their own income and bounce back, to their former state.
Nekrakra and a NADMO Deputy Director General, our no and share technicalities so aswenimu Alhaji Ahmed Rufai Afrahim one also so ejina binding nim ejinyame edam penyufo ya se wa so abayase emam kakwaye empenyufo anything memfo a ho aka adwemu emoa esan so sere se Oliver Twist asks for more amafo nkoso a ememeso wo masne.
As received by NADMO on behalf of the President, we will thank ADRA for such a wonderful items they've presented to these flood victims that happened on the 29th of June. We also thank them for, at least, if you look at Ghana, we have a lot of Muslims and Christians which we have coexisted. There has never been a situation whereby there has been conflict between the two religion. Through our coexistence in our institutions, our schools, and everywhere that we are, when such a disaster befalls us the disaster doesn't know who is a Christian and who is a Muslim. So we will thank ADRA for what they have done. And we promise them these items will get to the victims of the 29th June flood disaster.
Yes, Ambo! Mothers FM!
Haji Ahmed Rufai Afrahim Nene Enikokote no.
World Health Organization and African Union aka bachire mu abedi dwumasunu bi wan krampumpune mantemo ni nyina no efa ebibrem apomuden ehun nsem ho na wo dwendwene ho na panyimpa onoda World Health Organization no ano yera Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus edi atudwa akyere se ohwe senia ebibrem yesifa toto yapomuden ho nsem asaram na enhyada nkoye mpempie no ye de ni to abrofo no so mo beboa ye enso na anu ya Donald Trump baaye ozi sika ode bo apomuden wejai sika ode bo wejai sika ode bo wejai enti se yakoso de ni to abrofo no so na kyese ebedi adokrokwa enti obesre ebibrem akanefo se free sabre koyi ye mfa sika nhye yapomuden ho nsem mu na ya eyema yara.
Chairperson Ali Yusuf, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, and friends. Good morning and thank you, President Mahama, and thank you, Ghana, for hosting this historic summit, the first extraordinary session African Union Assembly ever dedicated to health. And also thank you for your leadership on African health sovereignty from last August summit to the Accra reset that followed. This also, in the 2063, the Africa we want, a vision I was part as Ethiopia's Prime Minister in 2013. And let me share an honest assessment of where we stand. Africa has made extraordinary progress against HIV, with new infections down 40% since 2010. But Africa still carries them, and as external funding declines, we risk losing ground. The same challenge runs through maternal health, tuberculosis, malaria, neglected tropical diseases, and rising non-communicable diseases. These are not separate crises. They are one crisis, as systems not yet strong enough to protect every person on this continent in our Africa.
Enia etwegu ye Dr. Ghebreyesus ono penyipa oda World Health Organization no ano na ne kwakra mu na His Excellency John Dramani Mahama kasa akere bi no ebibrem akanifo akohia mu Abuja ena omoka se akomabo sika wode bebo won ho bra afimu no omo de mu ha chechemu dunum 15% ebekọ apomudin mu eya ano kwa ena omo de kan sika no enko ageda wanwan ye tese Ghana kra the hospitals yesi a na kan rem na tumi se 15% 15%. Yeah, said the be rap on with them. Yenye. Yera mama say, Moma enya anosa kekenemono African leaders and sorry.
It turns out it's also an industrial policy, a structural transformational agent, and a liberation strategy. 25 years ago in Abuja, we promised to devote 15% of our national budgets to health. That promise is now old enough to have children of its own. So the pledges we make this afternoon must be physical, not lyrical. Through the African Leadership Meeting commitments and the Program for Financing and Investing in African Health, through debt for health arrangements, solidarity instruments, and protected budget lines that survive electoral cycles, let each of us bring the Ministry of Finance to the health table and keep it seated right at that table. Prevention repays us ninefold. Show me a better bond in the economy market than prevention. Excellencies, this afternoon, we shall deliberate amongst ourselves on local manufacturing, financing, and governance and leadership. Our member states will pledge, and we shall adopt the Accra Declaration. As your host and your brother, I make one request of all of us. Let us not adopt another eloquent text. Let us seal our pacts with our words of honor. The declaration establishes a continental monitoring, reporting, and accountability framework, which we hope to align with Accra Research Framework. We commit to an annual
Yagusajemu apomode ansem mudia na eje ni tremu ewa Ablekuma North na edu hodia eye mashebe na wo ho eye mame erabna open wachemu se wadi screening ahihye so ede mane manfo se ne be wo mani ha omododo na ebetumi ababehwe na anyame nyina tumi akonka isan se ni edpidua na ekania na screening ne course no de nipa dodo na na ebabe ye emu eye ahanan 400 ene hu se wo mu ewani yare na era Gloria Pronti wadi nsem se na tudwa Jumedi na ase abra wanso kokọ screening no ebi
Ablekuma North na MP ne rabra obeye I screening nti obeye ye no ohwa ebi no ho a problem wo be ka se obebisa sa wo pe a o ma beye weni na ma
and when so and a mame erabna oben say one more mobile screening no who you said do na wo ha skasem no na chese wo ho eche wo mo eni nti ofato no se one eye penyumfo be ka bomu aye adwumeje ni kama eni nti no Ghana Eye Project 2026 eno mo kaba chi man spring project surgery no wetumi de hyehyɛ so say ne manfo enkonkɔ surgery na wo betumi ehunu ade kama
I'm sure most of you were around and you testify how some of the constituents were complaining that they couldn't even afford the cost of surgery, although they were virtually going blind. And so this is going at no cost to them at all. Free. It's at no cost to them. So as Member of Parliament for the constituency, this is what I'm also doing as an intervention to help my constituents. So from the screening to transportation, accommodating them there and everything, I am bearing the cost. But thankfully, the team of experts are having the procedure for us at no charge.
Kra ena wo ma munya adwumedie so mfaso eda mami ase ewo dwumapa wedi edi aboa wo
ena scan mo boy no yentime ena nyame adom na rab so obeboaye ena odi ye ba ha nti eda na ase nti enyo no aka ye nim dia ye beye ti eda na ase kese pa CS 28 years ni omo ba so nyana obi nye we bida no credit ba akopɛ wayɛ ade pa waboa yɛn obi wɔ ha sika akɔkɔyɛ no onibi nti randa wayɛ ade pa nyame hyira no wayɛ ade de wayɛ bi nyama ɔyɛ ni yɛhu bi da me fi adbaka na me ba da akoma adbaka fo no mu yɛ ade ba ti ba ha no yambetu nyama papa bia ba sese die ɛdɛ yɛ dende yɛ dibi ti nyame hyira no pa
na lojugba arabla ebomoden ke no ni efio ke no ni ba fie wona kweko ye Ghana ne keje kwa mi nkruma yi no kaba shibia ne wona kwe na koda ya ka wote me ko me won yin gbeje ngbene sani shishika ewo ehin wo won bole ake
I was here for yedi esi hase and abema kwanya na esi ede amawo KASE3 Ghana Limited na so yas ni medin nana aba eje ba mene
Ejaminta yadamase
na